All right, this video is a review of the Chapter 5 quiz. The problems are in black ink and the solutions are in red. So looking at the first problem, you're given the chart of hours and lawns mowed and asked to find the rate of change and explain what that rate of change meant for that problem. So we know that when we have a chart and we have to find a rate of change, we have to find the slope. So we use our carets to help us find the change in y over the change in x. So we see here that x is increasing by 1, and each time that happens, the y increases by 3. So rate of change is change in y over change in x would be 3 over 1. So the rate of change or slope would be 3. And the explanation in words would be that for every hour, 3 lawns are mowed. Or of course I would accept 3 lawns are mowed every hour. Okay? All right, next problem. Direct variation. I've encouraged you to write down what your answer should look like every time you're given a problem like this. So if you see a direct variation, you know it has to be able to take the form y equals kx. So first equation, we can execute addition and subtraction on the right side. So 16 minus 8 is 8, plus negative 8 is 0. So now my equation on my first rewrite looks like 2x plus 8y equals 0. I know if I'm looking for a direct variation, it has to be in the form y equals kx. So I subtract 2x from both sides, and I get 8y equals negative 2x. Now I'm solving for y, so I divide both sides by 8. And y equals negative 1/4 x. The next one, is this a direct variation? Same thing. If I can make it look like y equals kx, then it is a direct variation. So I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides, and I get 6x plus y equals 8x. Then now I have to isolate my variable, so I subtract 6x from both sides, and I get y equals 2x. These are both direct variation equations because I was able to execute any operations and solve for y, and the final equation was in the form y equals kx. So those are definitely direct variation equations. Next questions. Find the slope and the y-intercept. And I gave you the warning to watch the format. So when we're talking about slope and intercept, we know that we're looking for the form y equals mx plus b, because that's where we can read our slope and our y-intercept. So the first equation was already in that form. We've got y equals 4x minus 6. So we can see underneath there, y equals mx. There's my m, 4. I also accepted 4 over 1. And there's my b. It is positive 6. However, I would change that subtraction to addition, change sign the next value, so that it's a negative 6 intercept. And remember, I told you that whenever you're asked to write a y-intercept for me, you've got to write it as an ordered pair, because that's how we have to remember it's actually a solution point. Okay, so 0, negative 6 as an ordered pair. The second equation was almost ready to read. Remember, we can't read it unless it's y equals mx plus b. This has a coefficient of 2 on my y, so I have to divide every term by 2. And then I have y equals 3x plus 9. Now I can read my m, which is 3, or 3 over 1, and my b. My b is 9, which makes my y-intercept 0, 9. All right, next problems. We were asked to write the equation, and I told you in class several times we wanted this in slope-intercept form. So the first ordered pair is negative 1, 6, and 4, negative 4. I said several times that these were very important questions that you need to learn how to do. Told you they would be on the quiz in force. There were 3 of them. So here we go. We want y equals mx plus b. Again, I encourage you to write down what your answer should look like so that you know what it is you have to find. So first I need to find my slope, which is change in y over change in x. 6 minus negative 4 is 6 plus 4, which is 10. And negative 1 minus 4 is negative 1 plus negative 4, which is negative 5. So that slope was negative 2. Now I plug in what I know and find what I don't. 6 equals negative 2 for my m times negative 1 for my x plus b. Solve for b. B equals 4. So my equation, my answer is y equals negative 2x plus 4. All right, next one. Same exact thing, except here we have 5, 7, and 0, 0. Y equals mx plus b. First find my m. 7 minus 0 is 7. 5 minus 0 is 5. So I have 7/5 for my slope. Remember that I see the origin here is involved. 0, 0, that's my y-intercept. So this is a direct variation equation, so there is no b. B is 0. We don't write plus 0. We just write it in that form, y equals kx. So this one was a direct variation equation. The last of these, we have 3, negative 8, and 5, 2. So we are going to have y equals mx plus b. We're going to go 2 minus negative 8 is 2 plus 8. 5 minus 3 is 5 plus negative 3. So 10 over 2 is 5. Plug in what I know and find what I don't. 2y equals 5m times 5x plus b. 2 equals 25 plus b. Solve for b, and b is negative 23. I see I didn't write my final on the line here, but your final answer should be y equals 5x plus negative 23, or y equals 5x minus 23. Okay, then the back side of the quiz, we had write an equation in slope-intercept form where you were given the graph. I know I need y equals mx plus b. How we find a slope on a graph is we count rise over run. First thing I do is notice that it's a negative slope, so I write that negative right away. And I have y equals negative 1 over 2. If you take any of those 2 points, you see that from one point to the other, there's a rise or a drop of 1 and a run of 2. So that's a negative 1/2 slope. My intercept is where x is 0. We can see that that is negative 1. So the equation is y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1. Next graph, you had to graph the equation y equals 2x minus 2. This is in slope-intercept form, so I know that my intercept is 0, negative 2, so I plot that value. Then I know that my slope is 2, or 2 over 1, so I rise 2, go right 1, or I could drop 2 and go left 1. Last one is also the one I told you would be on there. The only thing that we're doing here with point slope is identifying the point, identifying the slope, and graphing it. So y minus y1, because this is a plus, we did this in class quite a bit that day. This y1 now is going to have to be a negative 1. Then the m is 3, and the x1 is 2, because it's in that form x minus x1 already. So x1, y1 is 2, negative 1, plot that point, then apply my slope. Up 3, right 1, or down 3, left 1. I also counted it correct if you cranked through the point slope form and put it into slope intercept form. I told you that would be okay too. So we have y plus 1 equals 3x minus 6. Subtract 1 from both sides, and y equals 3x minus 7. So there's that intercept. You just had to extend the graph a little bit. Apply your slope, up 3, right 1, and you're all set.